You don't need to wait for a publisher or a client to give you permission to share your art with the world. As a matter of fact, you can hire yourself. Self-publishing has changed the way I see my art and I see myself. And today I wanted to show you why I believe that every artist should consider self-publishing in order to grow. In case you don't know me, hi, my name is Veronica. I'm a children's book illustrator, surface pattern designer, and teacher. I've taught everything from the basics of vector illustration, digital illustration in Procreate, surface pattern design, all the way to creating your own coloring pages. And self-publishing is currently one of my most favorite topics. And the reason for that is that it's very empowering. I came across this idea to self-publish my own coloring books for my little daughter over on Amazon out of sheer frustration, because at the beginning of this year I was experiencing a bit of a dry spell at work. And this gave me a lot of anxiety, not only about my income, but also about my self-worth as an artist, because in my head I was thinking, if I'm not getting hired, then what kind of an artist am I? So I wanted to introduce you to self-publishing as a great way to tackle not only your anxieties, but also practically speaking to tackle your dry spells. It's a great way to kickstart also your career as an illustrator, and it's one of the best exercises that you can do for your own portfolio, because at the end of the day, in a very, very fast way, you end up with a physical product. For example, I self-published coloring books, and within 1 or 2 weeks you can be holding this physical product in your own hands. Whereas if you were to go the traditional path with a publisher, first of all, you would have to land this job either by representing yourself or through an agency, and on top of that, the publishing industry is notoriously slow, so you could be holding your project in your own hands maybe in half a year or even a year, which is really a lot of time. Let's also turn my own example of my own personal journey into self-publishing into some actionable steps that you can take. Tip number 1, start with something that you already have in your portfolio. Last year I drew a lot of monsters for my portfolio. It was a lot of fun, and drawing them actually helped me to land some publishing projects. For example, a publisher hired me to illustrate a board book. I hope you can see that. I'm illustrating in Affinity Designer on my iPad. So I was hired even for illustrating 2 board books for babies and for toddlers with monsters. But unfortunately, to my frustration, this publisher went bankrupt and this project needed to be cancelled, which led again to a lot of frustration on my side. So I decided to create some more efficiency in my workflow. I had a bunch of monsters that I drew for my portfolio, and I decided to recycle them. This is one of the best tips that I can give you, so that you save up some time, but also so that you prevent lots of beautiful artwork that you create getting stuck, for example, on your iPad, if you're creating on the iPad, or anywhere in your storage. Oftentimes, it is just simply a shame to be putting your heart, your energy, and your time into your illustrations and not do anything with them. And so this is how I created my very first coloring book called Friendly Monsters. This is actually a coloring book that is really used by my daughter. Those are all the monsters that I drew literally February last year. Yeah, super sweet. My daughter was really occupied coloring those, and they were simply on my iPad, and because I'm used to drawing everything with vectors, oh, it was so easy to adjust everything and to turn it into a coloring book. So right now this coloring book and another coloring book are available on all Amazon marketplaces. I self-published my coloring books through Amazon KDP. These are coloring books for kids, which I made in particular for my daughter who is 4, which leads me to tip number 2, let your own influences inspire your project choice. Because a self-publishing project is by default a personal project, because you're not waiting for any client or a publisher. You have the idea and you hire yourself. I recommend that for your very first project idea, you take something that is really close to your heart. Even if this project will not sell, for example, those coloring books, I think in the first month of Amazon I sold maybe 2, and it was mainly through my friends. But I wasn't disappointed at all, because for me what mattered was that I had those coloring books for my daughter and also as gifts for our friends. It was just close to my heart. It wasn't all about profit. It was more about having something physical for my portfolio, something physical for my own daughter, and also proving to yourself that I am worthy as an artist. I can create. I don't need to wait for anybody. This is how I also created my second coloring book, called Cute Easter. Cute chickens. So this one I created from scratch, but I knew that it's very important to have some Easter themes in my illustration portfolio, because seasonal illustrations such as Easter, Christmas, they're really, really, really important, and they they sell. So I created this coloring book. I was really motivated and I had nothing else to do, meaning I was experiencing this dry spell at work. I created this coloring book right before Easter in April, and from creating this coloring book to publishing it to actually proofing it and ordering it over on Amazon, I think it was something like 2 weeks. So you kind of still need to do it ahead of time, but it was super awesome because they came on time, I think on Monday before Easter, so I still had a few days, and I was able to give them, of course, to give it to my daughter, but also to gift it to the kids in the family and in our friends circle. Another example of a project that comes from the heart that I can give you from my personal experience is that right now we have May as I'm recording this video, and I'm really a lot into gardening. Like, I garden a lot on my balcony, and I notice out of the need that I need to take some notes about my garden, the seeds, what I planted. Sometimes I forget if a plant needs what kind of soil, how much watering, is it going to be okay on my southern balcony. And I already started to take some notes and create drafts of a gardening journal. So this will definitely be a project that comes from the heart, that, I will have the satisfaction of having created it as an artist without searching for a publisher that might, first of all, they have to agree to your project, and second of all, you are giving away some of your creative freedom, because publishers usually have very strong opinions about how things should look. So even if you have a vision for your baby, project, they will likely want changes, adjustments, alterations, and in the end you will have to compromise, because it will be a teamwork between you and the publisher. Whereas if you are self-publishing, then your baby project can look as you want. You have full creative freedom. That's why, again, big recommendation, choose a topic for your self-publishing project that really comes from the heart. And on top of that, if it will not sell, at least initially, then you will have something for yourself or for your close ones. Let me give you now tip number 3. Start with a simple project. So initially, I will not lie, there will be a little bit of a learning curve, and some people who are used to using computers and iPads, they will be a little bit faster, but there's also a lot of people who are not so fit when it comes to technology, and they need a little bit more time, or they feel overwhelmed when they want to get started with a new project. That's why, to lower this barrier for entry, namely your anxiety and wanting to give up because there's too many technicalities that you have to learn, I recommend that you start with something, first of all, from the heart, and second of all, something simple. So if you really don't know what to start with, you could consider the so-called low content product. This is the easiest as it can get. Imagine a journal, imagine a sketchbook, a planner, a logbook, a to-do list, or a habit tracker. These are typical low content products. It means they have very minimal or even no content. It could be, for example, a repeat pattern that maybe you created while taking one of my courses that you just slap on the cover. And then inside could be completely blank, or it could be bullet journal style with dots, or it could be lined, and it could be just a notebook for taking notes, but it will be your unique product because it's with your pattern on the cover of this notebook or of this journal. This is as simple as it can get. You can create it probably in a few minutes using any software, I'll talk about it in a second, of your choice, or just using the free Canva account. And boom, 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 theoretically, you could be done in half an hour and have your first project waiting a little bit to get approved over on Amazon, and then sell it on all Amazon marketplaces. With low content products, you can add your own illustrations, not just patterns, but like full illustrations as covers. You can also use some decorative elements that you created before using any software of your choice as decorations that will be inside. So it could be still, for example, a plain notebook, but every now and then it might have like a botanical element or some cute line work style illustration that will give this personal touch. You can also create themed guided journals, or, like I said, just simple sketchbooks. And low content products are by default, of course, much faster to create, and they can give you this motivation boost that you might need at the beginning. I highly recommend that you stay tuned, because I will be releasing new courses on this topic, and it's gonna be either on Skillshare, where I'm a top teacher, or better yet, you can stay tuned on my Substack blog letter. It's like a blog platform where you can also get all the updates, resources, knowledge articles directly to your email, or you can check it out in the Substack app, because they also have a very nice app. It takes a little bit of time to release a new course, but it's definitely coming this year, so I hope I will see you there as well. Now, the last tip, to give you also some extra encouragement. The software you're using doesn't matter, so don't get hung up on the software. You can create your self-publishing projects in any software. Maybe you prefer Procreate, perhaps you're an Adobe person and you also prefer to work on desktop. I personally love using Affinity Designer. If you know me, if you've been following me, then all my feeds, my Facebook groups, they're full of Affinity Designer recommendations. I'm not sponsored by them. I love creating on my iPad because I can take it anywhere with me. And this choice for me, the iPad and using Affinity Designer, was the perfect choice for me personally. I also have the entire Affinity suite, so I learned how to quickly and efficiently use Affinity Publisher together with Affinity Designer, but it was just a personal choice. You can also set up, which I would highly recommend, a free Canva account. I don't have the pro version. I used to have it, but then I realized I can bridge the gap with what I need by, my knowledge of graphic design and digital illustration in Affinity Designer. So I just have the free account, and even though I was creating everything in Affinity Designer for the iPad, I was still putting everything together in my Canva account. It's very accessible and very intuitive. There will be also a course about it, how to put together quick low content products using the free Canva account. So also, if you're using Affinity, I do have to mention that because I know Affinity much better than Adobe, for example, even though I was using both and I'm able to compare. I think that in particular using vector design has a lot of advantages because, for instance, the monsters that I turned into a coloring book, they were already vectors. And with vectors, as opposed to pixel art or raster art, you are able to change the size of your artwork pretty much indefinitely. So I was able just to take the vector shapes that I created literally nearly 2 years ago and turn it into something new, taking into account the dimensions of the coloring book that I needed. So vectors give you this, technically speaking, this freedom. Literally last week I got a licensing inquiry and I licensed one of my illustrations to a puzzle company. And I was so relieved that I work with vectors, because if it was raster and I didn't have the dimensions that they needed, then I would basically have to redraw it and I would be wasting time. So one big advantage is that Affinity Designer is great for vector art. And another advantage is, another favorite topic of mine, are using vector assets. I have 2 courses about creating vector assets, which are pre-saved design elements that you save up in Affinity into a library, and then you can just reuse it to create new illustrations or repeat patterns. Maybe you've taken some of my botanical assets courses or any courses about pattern design. Botanical elements are the most versatile elements that you can create as opposed to other themes, because they're like, in their nature, the ultimate decorative elements, botanical art. So perhaps if you've taken my courses before, you already have a bunch of cool botanical assets in your library, and you can basically just recycle them. The way they work is that you just have a library of assets that you created before, and you just drag and drop them into the canvas, the document, the project that you're working on, and you can use them all over again without spending more time at work. So let's wrap it up. Tip number 1, start with something you already have in your portfolio. Tip number 2, let your own influences inspire your project. Tip number 3, start simple. And tip number 4, don't hang up on the software. You truly don't need permission to publish your own work. And what amazing times we live in that we have such opportunities to simply create something with any software of our choice and then sit at our computer, log in, upload it, and publish your own work. Before, it wasn't even possible at all. So with this regard, it's very empowering, and it can be a great tool for for your portfolio and your building your confidence as an artist. And it's such a fulfilling way to share your art with the world or with your loved ones. So if you would need some help, for example, turning your illustrations into beautiful printable coloring pages, or coloring pages that can be put together into a coloring book project, I have a course that guides you through every step of the process with my favorite software, Affinity Designer. And if you have no other personal projects in mind, then I would recommend that you start with a simple coloring book and get into the world of self-publishing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you really feel inspired, and hopefully I'm going to see you in class. Happy creating!